public statements to be made. He doesn't tend to say a lot of that sort of stuff, but he seems to be focusing more at a foreign policy conference, talking about the US and talking about what he thought about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. In a wide-ranging speech, Putin also warned that the US that supplies of long-range missiles to Ukraine would seriously damage relations between Moscow and Washington, but would not change the situation on the battlefield, where the Russian army is making slow but steady advances. Okay, let's take that last part. Okay, so long-range missiles would not change the situation on the battlefield. That implies that he has, or he believes Russia has the necessary counter-missile defences for, well, I guess, broader use of ATACMS, broader use of the Flamingo, but perhaps even up to like a Tomahawk class TLAM, maybe something more significant. The S-400, I don't think they're capable of countering cruise missiles. It's more of a larger anti-missile system. I mean, the Russians do have ABM and anti-missile systems, and they do have CRAM, counter-rocket artillery and mortar capabilities. Yeah, I could see it. I mean, obviously there's still stuff getting through. And is the Russian army still making slow but steady advances? Well, you look at, say, Live UA map, which I think is actually one of the better sites out there that show the state of the front line, plus the reporting that's coming out from public sources. It's shown that, by and large, that is the case, that Russian forces on the ground, whilst they may be taking steps backward in some places, are progressively moving forward. It doesn't show a breakout type effort, and certainly as the Northern Hemisphere now moves into winter, the fighting season, as it is, across the plains of eastern Ukraine has sort of ended. So any expeditionary effort or breakout is going to be on hold until the mud season ends. Tomahawk, very next paragraph. Good reading, me. So Tomahawks, I think the Russians can counter them, but we haven't really seen them used against Russia yet. And yeah, I mean, it'll be very interesting to see what happens with them if they get used. But yes, it would be a qualitative state of escalation. He admits that they would inflict damage on Russia if Ukraine got them. However, Russian air defences would adapt. And wouldn't change the balance of forces. Okay, repeats what he said. He dismissed Trump's statement about Russia being a paper tiger because of its failure to defeat its smaller neighbour after more than 3.5 years of fighting. And that Putin argued that Russia had faced all the NATO allies back in Kiev. Well, that seems to be a reasonably fair statement. Again, that Trump statement seems to imply that it sounds like they want to steamroll all of Ukraine. We are fighting against the entire bloc of NATO, and we keep moving, keep advancing, and feel confident. And we are a paper tiger. What NATO itself is. He said, a paper tiger. Go deal with this paper tiger then. Okay, fair counter statement. Blah, blah, blah. At the same time, Putin hailed Trump's efforts to negotiate peace in Ukraine. So, this first part, the conflict, we're making ground, so we're not losing it. That's from Russia's point of view, that is. But we're still willing to negotiate for peace. Good. That tells me that Putin has, by and large, got the geographic position, the geostrategic holdings that he always wanted to secure, and now he's basically willing to wait. Nuclear arms control, New START treaty. Yep, he's going to extend it, which is good. If they don't need it, we don't need it either. We feel confident about nuclear shield. Not a problem. Common interest, stern warning. Okay. While praising Trump, he sent a stern warning to Western allies against trying to seize ships that carry Russian oil to global markets. Now, the Shadow Fleet, I think they call it. He argued that would amount to piracy and could trigger a forceful response while sharply destabilizing the global oil market. Yeah, I mean, that's true. Irrespective of what else is going on in the world, that is true. Now, I remember back in 2003, 3. Well, one of those years. Wasn't 2001. No. The Pong Su affair in Australia, a North Korean flagged freighter that was involved in the drug trade and all sorts of bits and pieces. There's a whole bunch of stuff, but there was a lot of concern about how to deal with it once it hit international waters and stuff. What the implications of a military or an interdiction by Australia, led by the military, against a North Korean flagged vessel, not just North Korean owned vessel, it was North Korean flagged, so it was running effectively as a state vessel. And questions about did that amount to piracy, what were the legal rights of doing high seas interdiction, did Australia even have the ability to do a high seas interdiction, etc. But there was a lot of discussion at the time, a lot of concern before the operation was undertaken to actually interdict it, about the forceful boarding of another nation's ships. And that, quite rightly, the North Koreans could have responded that Australia was engaging in piracy. Again, might has the right in international waters, to be honest. But Putin's not too far off the mark here with what he's saying. Now, the last time there were oil sanctions, shipping sanctions like this, I think it was like 2003 Oil for Food program, 2002, with Iraq, and trying to prevent unauthorized oil sales out of Iraq and protection of other nations' oil shipping through the region. So, yeah, I mean, that will be concerning. But then again, a lot of tankers and other shipping sails under flags of convenience. The question about the boarding of a tanker by the French military, Putin cast it as an attempt by Macron to distract public attention from his country's internal problems and mockingly likened the French leader to Napoleon. Well, Napoleon was effective. We'll talk about France in a little bit. Arguing that it defied international maritime law, it does, and risks triggering military confrontation. It does. This is stuff that has been rather well developed and discussed for at least 20 years now. And it's Russia's not saying anything out of the ordinary here. It shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. I mean, Putin's not saying anything the other way. Putin scoffed at Western claims of possible Russian involvement in recent drone flights over Denmark, casting them as part of a purported NATO efforts to inflame tensions to boost defence spending. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah, just rehashing what that was. Putin dismissed Western allegations of Russia's purported aggressive plans against NATO allies as nonsense, aimed at distracting public attention from domestic problems. We are carefully watching the growing militarization of Europe, he said. Is all of this just words, or is it time for us to take countermeasures? No one should have doubt that Russia's countermeasures will not take a long time to come. Um, so, the again, I mean, it's Putin, but you've got to go and listen to the words of people leading or wanting to lead because they'll tell you what they're going to do or why they're going to do it. Now, presumably the article comments are all like, it's bad, they're trolling, it's all bad. Those statements, though, watch that space, see what happens coming down the pipeline.